Hello and welcome to the history of B'Elanna Torres. B'Elanna Torres was a Klingon-human hybrid and former Maquis who served as chief engineer on the Federation starship USS Voyager under Captain Catherine Janeway. In 2371, while Starfleet was trying to capture the Maquis raider Valjean in the Badlands, she and the rest of the Maquis crew were pulled 70,000 light-years across the galaxy, deep into the Delta Quadrant by the Caretaker's array, and forced to merge with the crew of the USS Voyager during its estimated 70-year journey back to home. Before serving as the Voyager's chief engineer, B'Elanna had joined the Maquis right after dropping out of the Starfleet Academy, after years of disciplinary issues. B'Elanna was born in the year 2349 AD on the Federation colony Keswick 4, to John Torres, her human father, and Marielle, a Klingon mother. She spent much of her early life on Keswick 4, but because of relations between the Klingon Empire and the Federation were not too cordial at the time, B'Elanna and her mother were the only Klingons on the planet. Although none of the colonists voiced any negative opinions of B'Elanna, she felt that she and her mother were different, a feeling that made her uneasy and which she found hard to shake. The alienation continued when her own father began distancing himself from them. At one time, when B'Elanna was on a camping trip with her father, her Uncle Carl, and her cousins Elizabeth, Dean, and Michael, she overheard her father complaining about her, likening her moody and angry behavior to that of her mother Muriel, and that he had a hard time living with two Klingons. John Torres, her father, finally left the Federation colony and traveled back to Earth in 2354, when B'Elanna was 5 years old, never to return to his family again. 4 months after, B'Elanna cried herself to sleep every night, wondering what had made her father leave and if it was her fault. However, she never talked about her feelings of guilt and shame to anyone, and eventually decided for herself that her father had left because she looked and acted Klingon. These kinds of setbacks resulted in B'Elanna developing a thin skin, often punching her way through life. She often blamed her Klingon temper, having gotten her in trouble all the time. She even attempted to change her appearance to look more human, an insecurity that remained with her for most of her life, culminating in her trying to genetically alter all of her unborn child's Klingon features when she was pregnant with her daughter in 2377. After her father left, B'Elanna and her mother lived on Kronos, the Klingon homeworld, for some time. Eventually, her mother pulled B'Elanna out of the Federation school she was attending and took her to a Klingon monastery in order to teach her honor and discipline. B'Elanna never spoke to her father again after he left them in 2354, until he initiated contact with her in 2377, after she had been stranded for nearly 7 years in the Delta Quadrant. John tried to make amends, and even though it's not easy for B'Elanna, she tried to re-establish a relationship with her father. Starfleet Academy. Beginning in 2366, Torres attended Starfleet Academy, where she participated on the Academy decathlon team. During her time in the Academy, she had 4 disciplinary hearings and 1 suspension. She also had to dodge several punches in the lab, which Chakotay later joked about, saying only you, B'Elanna, could start a brawl in Astro Theory 101. During her time at the Academy, B'Elanna dated Maxwell Burke. However, their relationship did not last long. After a brilliant but troubled 2 years heading towards an engineering specialty, she dropped out at age 19 in the Maquis. After leaving the Academy, an angry young Torres eventually joined the Maquis in 2370. After former Starfleet officer Chakotay saved her life. From then on, she formed a close relationship with Chakotay, and she had become one of his most trusted friends. At that point in her life, the Maquis became the closest thing to a family she ever had. Fighting Cardassians gave her an outlet that she needed in dealing with her violent emotions. In 2371, when their ship the Valjean was being chased into the Badlands by Gully Vec's flagship the Vetter, it was mysteriously transported to the Delta Quadrant by the Caretaker. After the crew was subject to a painful examination, the crews of the Voyager and the Maquis vessel were returned to their ships, with the exception of Torres and Starfleet engineer Harry Kemp. Those two were sent by the Caretaker to an Ocampan settlement beneath the surface of a planet, where they were told that they were dying and needed medical care. Torres refused to cooperate and attempted to escape. Both Torres and Kim were rescued by the crews of the Voyager and the Maquis. The Valjean was later destroyed, and its crew, including Torres, joined the Federation starship USS Voyager. USS Voyager, the first year, 2371. Since the two crews were stranded together in the Delta Quadrant, they were forced to work together in a single crew. Torres was initially assigned the provisional rank of Lieutenant Junior Grade. Torres had difficulty getting along with the temporary chief engineer, Joe Carey, to the point of breaking his nose over plasma conduits. She was recommended as a replacement chief engineer by Chakotay, as the original chief engineer was killed by the damage caused by the caretaker's displacement wave. However, Catherine Janeway was hesitant about a suggestion. After Voyager became trapped in a quantum singularity, Torres proved her skills to Janeway and earned her respect. Janeway then made her chief engineer over Carey. The second year, 2372, Voyager encountered the Cardassian automated missile called the Dreadnought that Torres had reprogrammed while she was still in the Maquis. They found that it had been brought to the Delta Quadrant by the caretaker, and that was headed towards the inhabited planet of Rashka 5, which it thought to be Ashklin 5, the site of a Cardassian fuel depot. Torres was able to beam aboard it, and with some difficulty destroy the missile. The third year, 2373, Torres was affected by the Pon farr when Vorik, a Vulcan crewmate, tried to mate with her. This spurred her Klingon mating instincts, which caused many problems. This also led to the first obvious hints of a relationship with Tom Paris. While under the influence of Pon farr, Torres and Paris shared a passionate kiss and intimate revelations about their feelings towards each other. But after fighting with Vorik in the ritual challenge, which purged her of the fever, she only vaguely acknowledged what happened. The fourth year, 2374, Torres had difficulty controlling her anger. She verbally attacked Seven, finding it hard to believe that she had no sense of guilt for her past as a Borg. While trying to modify the warp core, it became critical and had to be dumped. Paris and Torres left in a shuttle to retrieve it. Upon finding it, they discovered a Ka'atani trying to salvage it, and after a brief fight, the shuttle was destroyed, with the two left in their spacesuits. As their air dwindled, Torres was forced to confront her true feelings and told Paris that she loved him, just as Voyager, which retrieved the core from the Ka'atani, arrived to rescue them. The fifth and sixth years, 2375 to 2376, Torres battled an alien spacecraft with a bio-neural interface in order to save Paris. Alice attempted to kill Torres by sealing a hatch in the shuttle and shutting off life support systems. Paris saved her. She fought the Vaadwaur, who, after reviving from stasis, tried to capture Voyager. Torres crashed on a planet where, in exchange for parts to repair the shuttle, she told Kellis, a poet, stories he later used to amuse the heads of his planets. In 2375, Voyager, using a Hirogen communication systems, made contact with Starfleet. Torres became extremely depressed when she learned that most of her Maquis friends had been killed by the Dominion. She began taking unnecessary risks, such as using the holodeck with its safety protocols turned off. Along with Paris and Kim, she launched a new shuttle called the Delta Flyer, in which they encountered the Malon species. During the battle with them, she devised a way to contain a gas leak and save the crew and the shuttle. This made Torres feel needed again, and her depression subsided. The last year and the return home, 2377 to 2378, Torres was in an accident, and when in a coma state, she found her in Greythor, or Klingon Hell. There, she met her mother Muriel, who told her that Torres's rejection of the Klingon ways had doomed them both. When Torres woke up, she asked to be put into the coma again so she could save her mother. The doctor did as she asked. Her mother is not saved by Torres dying for her or by performing Klingon rituals, but rather by Torres living a good life and being true to herself. She again confronted her Klingon side when she became pregnant. She was afraid to have a baby because she thought that the baby would suffer as she did during her childhood. She found out that the child had a deformed spine that the doctor could correct genetically in the womb. When she saw the projection of the child and discovered it to have Klingon ridges, she questioned whether or not she wanted the child. She asked the doctor to make further genetic changes so that the child would not have any Klingon features. She falsely altered a diagnostic test that convinced the doctor that the changes were necessary. Paris found out about the false report and stopped the doctor before performing the procedure. He discovered that she blamed herself for her father leaving and thought it was because she was a Klingon. Paris convinced her that he would never do that and wanted a child just like her. She believed him and accepted the pregnancy. B'Elanna wed Paris after an interstellar starship race that Erna, one of the participants, tried to sabotage and thereby destroy the peace in the area. She had joined Paris in the race because she wished to share his interests. A bomb was planted on their ship, but they were able to eject it in time, and they were married after the race. During the final battle with the Borg, which led to Voyager's return home, Torres gave birth to her daughter, Muriel. Thank you for watching the history of B'Elanna Torres. Special thanks to Memory Alpha for all information you heard today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you can. If you already have, then thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.